if you think you know what this is. I'm not going to lift it up right now.
Selfie stick.
It's a what?
Selfie stick.
No, it's not a selfie stick. It's
a baton.
It's a baton. What are batons used for? Pass it, yes. Okay. Relay races, you might have seen relay races, and winners do not win unless they pass the winning line with the baton, right? This baton and the handing off of the baton is responsible for the most wasted time on teammates. It's also responsible for the most arguments in a handoff. I handed it off to you. You dropped it. A lot of tension among teammates with handing off of this. Races are won or lost based on how well you hand off something. Well, when you get to the Olympics, handoff really means something because you spend a lot of time training and working to win the race. But we're not going to be talking about Olympics or racing. We're going to be talking about handoffs in life. Okay? If something were to happen to you, become incapacitated, a major injury, major illness or something like that, would your family be able to steward the resources that you took so much time to build and invest? Would they be able to steward your resources well? When I say family, it could be friends or relatives, but I'm just using the word family. So if something happened to you, would your family be able to steward those resources well? No, I heard. Well, the thesis of this conversation today is that you should strongly consider a real good handoff plan. And that you strongly consider something that's documented. Not only documented, but shared with those family members. Now, the details don't need to be shared, but at least the existence of a plan should be shared. So that's the thesis of today's conversation. And tonight, I want to help you identify some of those pieces of a handoff plan. And we're going to be talking about some of those, and I'm going to encourage you to create one or to improve your handoff plan. Topics that we're going to talk about tonight: investments, which is real estate. No surprise there, right? We're going to talk about business interests. And we're going to talk about children. And then we're going to have a little infomercial share a little bit about the Family Stewardship Services and how that helps people to create those plans. And then we'll cover 3 other real important items to think about including in your handoff plan. So let's talk about real estate. You have a sheet on the table. Please take one. It'll help to guide the conversation today. If you need a pen something to write with, raise your hand. My wife has some pens there. Great, got some hands up there. Well, I have some friends, surprise to you there, I have some friends that have a real neat short-term vacation rental cottage that overlooks Garfield Bay. And it's an incredibly successful place. They have bookings that book the place a year in advance. When the time is, when they open the season and stuff, it is booked solid. It's booked completely. We were talking one day, and they have adult children, and they said, wow, the Airbnb, the short-term vacation rental, is not that complex, but our adult children would not be able to take that over to get this, to manage this asset, this income-producing asset. It's a cash cow for the family, but they wouldn't be able to do that. So they were exploring ways in which they can document the most important pieces of this property so that their adult children could take that over if something were to happen to them. On your sheet there, you have we're going to do a brainstorming session, okay? You're going to do that individually. So the sheet says that you worked hard to obtain the real estate assets that you have. If something were to happen to you, what important bits of information about your real estate investments would you want your family to know in order for them to steward them well? Now, some of you have real estate investments that are significantly more complex than my friends do. Some of you don't have any real estate investments at this point, and that's okay. So one of the things that you can do from a brainstorming perspective is to think about, if I had one, which I want to get one, what things would I want my family to know, okay? Or you can think about it in a different way too. My parents have some real estate investments. What would I want to know about that in order to steward those resources? Take a few moments, identify at least 10 on your list, okay? We're gonna break, and then we're gonna share some of your answers. Take a few moments now. I'll give you a couple hints too. So one would be disposition thoughts. Something were to happen to you, would you want them to keep it? And why? Would you want them to sell it? Would you want them to transfer it? What about the location of the properties? Would you want them to know? Do they know them? Got a place in North Dakota? Was that? Where's the address? Where's the address of that? Ownership information. How is the property owned? Is it owned by partners? Who owns it and how? And then loans against the property. Think of 10 more. Lots to think about here. You've just got started. I understand that. But let's just take a break and figure out what were some of the things that you thought of. So raise your hand and shout them out. And this is where you can help others too, who have real estate property, and we'll get you in a second. And you can think of ideas that they might not have thought of. Yeah.
It's actually incredibly helpful. So I'm a single mom.
Yes.
And I know that if I have all my estate plans in place, and I know that my brother is going to be trustee of the trust that's created if I was to die, and he probably would sell my home. And actually, I don't think that would be the best financial interest. So I've never thought of that. So he wouldn't even want to manage it.
Right. Yeah, and that's something like that wouldn't be documented in a trust. All these conversations, all these bits of information wouldn't be documented in a trust. We're going to talk about trust in a little bit too. Yeah.
So we have mortgage notes serviced all over the country.
Yeah.
And they're in different areas. And I don't think my boys even know how to even figure out where they're at.
How to access them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you would want that information to be there. Great. A couple others. Pardon? What? Okay, so who currently manages them? Manages them, yeah.
I was just thinking.
Hold on just 1 second. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I guess I was talking underneath my breath. Like, my family.
We'll get to you next.
Doesn't know how to manage this.
Right.
You know, they have no idea. My parents would, they, ever since I was 17, 18 years old, I've been trying to get them to open up their eyes to this fiat money system that we're stuck in and how to navigate it.
Right.
And they still haven't figured it out. Like, I wouldn't want to hand it to them.
No, but you would think about who you would want to hand it to. You're exactly right. Right. I get it. Caitlin.
I was just thinking that up-to-date value of
Uh-huh.
And then value projections. So if somebody wants to, if they have to decide what they're going to do with the property, any realtor's going to tell them this from now, but I want to let them know what your future projections are for it.
You bet. Yeah, makes sense. Here are a couple of other ideas, okay, for you to think about. We mentioned the location of the properties, the owners. What about purchase contract? What was it purchased for? Loans, lease agreements. So if you have rental property, where are those lease agreements? What are the terms of those lease agreements? Where are they stored? Insurance. How much? By whom? And contact information. Service providers. So we talked about management, but who are these service providers? What do they do? What is their contact information? How much do they usually charge? What about future upgrades? We have this property here and this property there, and we have, if you get extra money, this property really needs to be upgraded. Refinancing. We have several properties, and if the rate environment improves, this property needs to be refinanced more than the others. So just to get your minds going on some of the information that you might want to have in a handoff plan. My friends, they documented a plan, and you can too. And we can help. Okay, let's take a look at business interests. I met with a family. They have 2 successful companies. They are really doing very well. The companies, they're just really having a great time. We sat down and I looked at the wife and I said, if something were to happen to Tom, would you know what to do? I mean, would you continue the business? Would you transfer it? Would you sell it? Would you liquidate it? And she smiled at me and she said, I don't have a clue. And then they kind of smiled awkwardly. They looked at each other. They didn't have a clue. So, the question I want you to brainstorm about, if you have a business, or if you want to start a business, or if your parents have a business, think about these things. You worked hard to build your business, or businesses. If something were to happen to you, what important bits of information would you want your family to know about your businesses in order to steward them well? So take a few moments and brainstorm. Okay. And you might not be able to pass anything off, and that's okay, but what would you do? What would you recommend them to do? So sell it. Okay, great information. Sell it. Talk to this person to sell it. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
But on the first one, I did write down that you understand.
Absolutely. Yep. 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 Okay, so thoughts and ideas. What are your thoughts? You can share with your colleagues here. Yeah.
I'll just say, it becomes a challenging question because it's like, all right, here's my intention with what that's passed on. And can the people who have access to it do that intention?
Sure.
If my intention is going to drop it, or are they going to squander it? It's not going to touch this, that can change.
You bet it can. Yep. You were going to say something.
Our accountant and our attorneys.
That you would want them to know, talk to this attorney, talk to this accountant. Yeah, good recommendations there. What else?
I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I feel like if you have maybe like a child who's a little on the other side, maybe just like very general pros and cons of being an entrepreneur. Like,
Yeah.
this is what being a business owner looks like. Some people are interested in that, some people aren't.
Yep. We'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about children. So that's a good point. Documented systems, right? You've heard of the book E-Myth. Maybe if you haven't, it's a great book to have if you have a business, but E-Myth is really good. Documented systems, very, very good. Yeah. Here's some other ideas. Legal structure. Is it a C Corp? Is it an LLC? Is it just regular corporation? Is it a partnership? Is it sole proprietor? Key documents and key agreements, buy-sell agreements, bank accounts, income and expenses, debts, key employees, service providers, insurance, taxes. There are a lot of things here. When you think of either a business or real estate investments and having a handoff plan, it could be quite overwhelming. I mean, you think of all the details, right? My wife says something that's really fun. We want to get everything done, but we know we can't get everything done, so we don't do anything. We don't do anything. I like to say perfection prevents progress. So we want to get something done perfectly, and we can't get it done perfectly, so we don't do anything. But I want to encourage you just to start small, just to write down some of the key essential elements. Identify what's most important and move forward there. Now let's talk about children. My wife and I, we were driving in a borrowed red Miata convertible down the freeway. We were going to celebrate her birthday. We had two very young children. I think maybe one and 2.5, 3, something like that. And we were celebrating my wife's birthday, and we were going to have a great time. Driving down to the beach at a really nice restaurant. And as I was driving, I thought, and by the way, we were just all alone. It was great. One of the first times that we were without kids. I mean, we were just loving life. And then we're driving 65-ish miles an hour down the freeway, and I started looking around. It was a much smaller car than what I'm used to. And looking around, seeing all the other cars driving 65-ish down the road, and I'm thinking, if something happened to us, what would happen to our kids? I mean, we had a will, and we identified who was going to be the guardian for the kids, but there's so much more in a handoff. Who's going to take care of them? I was overwhelmed, and I've been working with a client who has a special needs trust, or what's called supplemental trust. I don't know if you know those, but they have 2 adult children that have special needs, and they create a special needs trust to help take care of those children, or those adult children, as if something were to happen to them. Makes a lot of sense. As I was doing some research on special needs trust, I came across a really fascinating tool. It's called a letter of intent. And letter of intent is really neat, because what it does is the parents basically create a letter, and they share most important things about their children to a potential guardian. So they cover things like their desire for the future, their daily routine, general medical history, and that kind of stuff. I want you to take a look at the next page on the children part of things, and take a look. If you have children, or if you're designated a guardian, potential guardian for children, or if you have brothers and sisters that have children, you might want to think through these. Look through the list. We got your desires for the future, daily, weekly, monthly routines. Think through what would be most important to you. General medical history, medical, dental providers. We got likes and dislikes. I want to pause here just for a second. Teddy likes to play baseball. Tom likes to fish. Betty does not like peas. Sarah likes ketchup. These are little things. These are little things. But moving from one family to another, they make a big difference. Just these little things, right? Likes and dislikes. We have religious beliefs, family traditions, family history. My wife and I were designated as potential guardians for my brother-in-law and my sister. But I wouldn't know about the family history. Wouldn't that be nice to know? To be able to share with these kids? I mean, really, be really cool. Education. So lots of different things there to think about. We're talking about handoffs. These are important handoffs, right? Okay, now for just a brief intermission, infomercial. I want to share with you a little bit about one of the services that we offer in Family Stewardship Services. And one of the services is called Family Stewardship Organizer. And here is an example of an organizer. And the families get together, then they work through the organizer. The organizer comes with a textbook on getting it together, lots of information about different topics, about documenting for your handoff. It also comes with a template that we've modified it electronically. And so they get the binder, or the textbook. They get a welcome or a congratulations letter when it's finished. And then they basically get this binder. This binder has table of contents that covers real estate. It covers loans, credit cards, taxes. It covers all kinds of things, healthcare directives. It covers business interests. And what we do is we sit with the family. They decide they wanted to have this service done for them. We sit with the family, and what we do is we create a syllabus for them. So we meet with them, we do a planning session, we take all the topics, and we basically go through and make assignments, weekly assignments or bi-weekly assignments. And basically what we do is then we introduce, during the session, we introduce the topics, we talk about things to keep in mind in terms of documenting it, and then we set them off. And the next meeting, basically we take a look at the work that's been done, encourage and coach, and some of the topics that might not be completed all the way, so we basically go to put that off to the next week. That's a fine thing. And then we introduce the next topics. Really great way for families to document some of their most important pieces. Now, if a topic isn't related to them, they just say not applicable, but then their family knows that this topic is not applicable. Make sense? One of the neat things with this is it's all about handoffs, right? So you got it? What we do is then the last meeting is we have a meeting with the family's trustee, executor, guardian, custodian, or any loved ones. We meet with them and we say, hey, this family got the binder, they got the baton, they created the baton. And we talk through the different sections with these people, right? So that they understand what's going on. Now, some families, they don't want to share the details, but what we'll do is we'll share a sample binder and go through the details. And it's a great time for people to ask questions, to give clarifying information, that kind of stuff, to really help out the families. Okay, so now I want to talk about the next topic, which is insurance. Millions of dollars of insurance benefits go unclaimed every single year in the United States. Millions. I have a friend who owns an insurance company, and invariably he gets a call that says, hi, my dad just died. Did he have an insurance policy with you? No? Okay. Thank you. Because people just don't know. There was a story that's true about an executrix. Her dad just recently died in a car accident. Very sudden, okay? And so she is working to settle the estate. She said, does my dad have any life insurance? I don't have a clue. I don't know. So what she did, she enlisted a service to basically do a search of all the policies to find out. Well, the search came out dry. There was no insurance policy, a life insurance policy. She got bummer. She really could have used that. Well, she's going through the mail, and she, as executors do, sorting through the mail, good, bad, throw away, junk mail, all that kind of stuff. And she was ready to throw the junk mail away. She thought, okay, well, I'll just open this one, junk mail. She opened it, and guess what? It was an insurance policy from a credit card company worth $300,000. She almost threw that away. Can you believe that? So my encouragement to you, oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to say one more thing. Well, yeah, here we go. Here's a suggestion. So if you have an insurance policy or if you have life insurance policies, document them. If you don't have them, document that fact too, so that your loved ones aren't looking for a policy, right? That makes sense. My wife and I, we each have, what would you say? Oh, forget it. Okay. We'll have to find out afterwards, okay? Huh? Oh, then they'll kill me. Okay, there we go. Okay, so my wife and I have an insurance policy on each other. And my policy, I think sometimes she'd be better off with me dead than alive. And so I said, Carol, I said, you get the insurance policy. If you get the proceeds, something happens to me, would you know what to do with the funds? And she said, I don't have a clue. And I said, well, let's take care of that. Let's talk about this. And these are just guidelines, but let's talk about it and then let's document it. Again, it's a handoff, right? So that she knows what to do with the funds. Well, I worked for a very, very, very large healthcare organization. It was integrated healthcare. Okay, what I mean by that is the company did care delivery, and then the company also had the insurance side. Really has some nice benefits to members in that regard. The company received every year about 13 million phone calls every single year. Okay, and that's not to even talk about emails that they received or the chat, the live chats. They got a lot of interactions. My responsibility was to help the organization understand what the customer experience was. So what I did, in essence, I had a mirror and I showed it to them to say, this is what you look like. This is the customer experience, right? And really, my team and the group that we collaborated with, we listened to at least 10,000 calls, probably more. Lots of calls to understand what the experience was, okay? Invariably, one of the frequent calls that came up was, hi, my name is Jonathon, and I'm caring for my elderly mom, and she needs a particular procedure, and I don't have a clue what her medical benefits are. Is she covered with this? Oh, okay, and then how would I get to understand that? We did longitudinal studies of people who were what we call frequent callers, and the frequent callers, we would say, let's take a look at this one caller, and let's see how often they call over a year. And guess what? These caregivers are calling on a very regular basis, because what they didn't think of, they thought of the hearing piece, but they didn't think of the eyes or any other number of things, right? So one of the things that my wife and I did was we said, we have adult daughters, they're pretty sharp. They really are. And we have a simple insurance policy, but guess what? Simple insurance policies get to be really complex and really kind of hard to navigate. So we, in a central location, put our insurance policy and documentation in a central place to say, if something were to happen to us, take a look at that policy. And so my suggestion there would be, get the policy information, get the contact information, the benefit information, how the plan works, medications, keep it all in one place. I mean, why not make it easy for your family to care for you? You have a vested interest, don't you? Yes, you do. These are potential handoffs to your family, but also with your parents, if your parents are still alive. Legal. Okay, I'm going to cover this section really pretty fast because talk about legal things, I start glazing over and that kind of stuff. But what I want to do is I want to cover 4 main documents that might be of interest to you, okay? A will. A will is a document that leaves property to beneficiaries you choose. A fact, I mean, this is a sad fact, between 50 to 70% of adults in America don't have a will. I knew of a young family that were just getting ready to go to Hawaii. The kids were going to stay home, and it was just them two going to Hawaii. They were so excited. And they had a will, but they had a will before they had kids. And so the kids weren't mentioned in the will. And they said, okay, well, let's do a little scribble and let's see what we can do to, hey, if something happens to us, and whatever. Well, that wasn't adequate for a will. They lived through it. They came back fine, right? But without a will, the children don't get to go to your choice. Guess who decides where the children go? The state. How many people want the state to decide where your children go? Yeah, they're the best. Okay. Okay, so without a will, the state decides where your assets go. You don't decide, the state does. How many want the state to decide where your assets go? Not many people. A probate is a process which the process means the probate means they validate the will, okay? And it's a normal process, but it can be very expensive, time consuming. So it basically can take 9 months to a year or more to settle the estate. So, and it's costly too. So benefits of a will, you get to designate who's guardian for your children. You get to designate who's the custodian for your children's assets. You decide how the will is distributed, how the assets are distributed. A trust. I'm going to read a quote here that's a little bit long, but a living trust is a legal document similar to a will in function, except that no probate is required for assets to be distributed to beneficiaries. So, because of this, many people use living trusts as a popular probate avoidance device. Makes a lot of sense. So, a living trust can only distribute property if the property is legally owned by the trust. So, you must legally transfer money or assets into the trust, and you have full control over the assets. Got it so far? So, you avoid probate, which is time-consuming, expensive, and public. Public. What do I mean by public? Well, if you go into probate, if you have assets greater than $100,000, you go through probate that aren't in a trust. What this means is the assets that get transferred to your beneficiaries is a matter of public record. Okay? So think about it. This happens. You have vultures circling around. They look at the public records and they say, Jimmy, he's inherited $300,000. I think I'm going to befriend Jimmy and take advantage. Happens all the time. A trust avoids that. It also provides a vehicle for ongoing maintenance and management of the assets that you put in the trust. And it ensures ensures privacy. Two other documents I'll just cover real quick. The first document of the two is the durable power of attorney for finances. And that basically says if something happens to you, this person is going to help make the decisions. They're going to make decisions for my best interests for my assets. Okay, and really great. You would be amazed at how many times a spouse or a partner, type of relationship, whatever, they don't have any durable power of attorney for finances, and something happens, and they're up a creek. Very difficult to get financial transactions done. Very, very, very challenging. Same is true for durable power of attorney for healthcare. So that basically says if I'm incapacitated, I can't make the decisions. This person is going to make decisions on my behalf on my best interest. They're going to be my fiduciary. So suggestions. It doesn't need to be complicated. Wills can be very simple. Trusts can be very simple too. We're going to provide you some resources that you can connect to make one your own. So just very helpful there. But to have them accessible. So we talked about the relationship between you and your family, but what about your parents who are still alive? Do you know that they have a trust? Do you know if they have a will? Durable financial power of attorney for finances and healthcare? You can make a difference in their life by getting these documents and helping them through. Service providers. We have a neighbor next door, and our house is on a well, and our well is on our neighbor's property. We share the well, okay? And it has a pump. We live in North Idaho, so it gets cold sometimes. Sometimes it gets really, really, really cold. And sometimes that pump doesn't work. It's frozen. But he, my neighbor, he has a contact, he has a service provider that he's worked with all the time to fix that pump. And he said, Jonathon, he said, I'm going to go on vacation for a couple of weeks, and here's the service provider contact information in case anything happens. That piece of paper is gold. It really is. Can you imagine us being cold and scrambling to find who that service provider is? Expand that to dozens of service providers for you or your parents. Now, the older you get, the more service providers you need. But here's a suggestion. Who are they? Document. Who are they? What do they do? What's their contact information? Well, lots of different things to consider in creating a handoff plan. And I haven't even mentioned a lot. Bank and brokerage accounts, digital assets, pets and livestock, employment, benefits, pensions, tax information, credit cards, secured places, and passwords. I can't access Dad's phone with contact information. I have no idea what the password is. Vehicles and other income and personal property. Take a look at the next page, or at the bottom of the last page, and we have a reflections section. So hopefully I've shared with you some ideas for you to consider about what might be involved and what you might include in a handoff plan. And hopefully we've shared ways in which you might not have considered before, right? I like to go into Western stores. There's three things and three sections that I like to go to. Okay, I like to look at the Western hats. I like to look at the belt buckles because they're really cool. And I like to look at the spurs. Spurs are really neat. You know, some of them are shiny, or some of them are dark colored. The spurs, some of them are really dull here, and some of them are really sharp. And I think, what would it be like to be under the saddle of a person with either a sharp spur or a dull spur? But what are spurs meant to do? They're meant to get the horse moving, right? This conversation has been a gentle nudge. It hasn't been sharp. Just to get you going a little bit. Can you imagine what it would take to get you going? Oh, well, let me ask you the question. What's it going to take for you to get going, to get moving forward? This has been a gentle spur. A sharp spur, I tell you what, they aren't fun. You think you're busy now? Just wait till an event occurs that causes you to move. You'd have no proactivity in that situation. You're having to be all reactive. I tell you what, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Well, let's get practical. Look on your sheet again. Whip out your pens. And I have a question for you. You've worked hard to get to where you're at today. You've worked really hard to get where you're at. If something were to happen to you, a serious injury, illness, incapacity, or death, what important bits of information would you like to share with your family? What would you like them to know in order to steward your resources well? I'd like you to take just a few moments and write down 1 or 2 or 3 steps that you'd like to take. You might think, I got it all together, and that's fine too. What about your parents? What about your brothers and sisters? Take a few moments. Mm. Ah, thanks. Huh? Yeah, I will. No, I'm gonna. Okay, yeah. Okay, you've had a few moments. Hopefully, I've gotten your mind engaged in terms of handoffs. I encourage you to have a documented plan to hand off, and I encourage you to have it shared with your family. If you don't share the details, at least you share the existence of such a plan so that they can help out in time of need. There will be a handoff. It'll happen.
100% of the time.
It'll happen. What kind of handoff will it be?
Hopefully not messy.
You get to decide. I'd like to share with you some resources that might be of interest to you. So this first resource is really not related to the topic, to handoffs per se, but it's called Being Mortal. Now, I don't subscribe to his religious beliefs, but I tell you what, this is a great book to think about. As you get older, what's going to be important to you? Our health system has really alienated people, made death or dying real painful and real lonely. Being Mortal is a really great book to help you understand what you want, what your parents want. I recommend that. That's going to be on the table at the back. Here's, let's see, Quick and Legal Will Book. Just talks to you about resources about, hey, you want to make my own will? Simple book here. They also provide other online resources that might be of interest to you. Here's a Make Your Own Living Trust. I really like this book. It's very nice and very helpful. This is for simple trusts, not complex trust. Complex trust is a trust that's ongoing over a long period of time or has a lot of different elements to it, but simple trust is a great book for you too. The Executor's Guide and the Trustee's Legal Companion, these are really interesting too. You're settling a loved one's estate. That's something of interest to you too. And let's see, we got two more things. I'm going to put my wife has already put down the Family Stewardship Organizer on the table there. Take a look at that if that would be of interest to you. Just thumb through it. And some of you might want to talk more, so I just have a clipboard. We're going to put that there. Hey, let's have a conversation. Initial consultation for us is about 45 minutes. It's free. Just to think through what are your needs, and does our company fit your needs? Maybe not. If not, that's fine. Then we can talk to you about other resources as well. I think that's it. So questions and answers, comments, reactions. So raise your hand, and what are your thoughts? Yeah.
I just wanted to say one of the downsides
Yes, they can. Yes, they
you
can.
have siblings that don't get along, and their access to one with more resources than on the other.
Yep, and yes, that's great. Great comment. Some of you may have heard of non-contest clause. So basically, if they contest the will, and if they lose, they're not a part of the will. They just written themselves out. Something to consider. Another thing to consider is to talk with people ahead of time about what your thoughts are for that. So good point. Yeah.
So one thing that's near and dear to my heart is moms or anyone who's been divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it depends on what state you're in terms of community property.
Yes.
Could you elaborate just a little bit on if you're a single parent and one or the other parent dies, does their estate immediately get inherited if you're maybe just curious? They don't have a will. Does their spouse immediately inherit everything?
It all depends, and I can't get into the details there. But it all depends because family dynamics are very complicated. Residency is complicated in some instances, and state law can be complicated, and so it all depends. So in that instance, I would recommend getting an attorney to help draft a will and or think through a trust. Yeah.
I'm good, but I worry about the siblings.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Yep. Other comments, questions, reactions?
How do you approach your family whenever you even mention the word finances or anything?
I think I think you have to consider the audience. At some point, you can't share some things. Yeah.
Being mortal.
It's like non-existent with my parents for some reason.
Yeah.
It is. I tried to get them to talk about this stuff.
Right.
About your stuff or about their stuff?
All of it, just all of their, what their plan is.
Got it.
Just everything, but I can't.
Right.
Oh, it's really
What?
weird.
One of the things that can be helpful with
I don't know what it is.
People that are afraid of death don't want to talk about it.
I get it. I get it. But one of the things that could be helpful would be have an intermediary, one that's neutral party. I was at a group event, talked to a guy who was a physician. His father has a lot of raw land right outside of DC. Okay, and you said, "Oh wow," because you knew it exactly. This property is worth millions, and he can't get his dad to talk about some of this stuff. But his dad could talk with maybe somebody else, because the dad doesn't have to reveal anything. The dad doesn't have to reveal who's he going to give to or who not. He's not going to give to, but at least he can have a plan. Because he's asking, "Dad, do you have a plan?" You know, that is, you got a tough situation.
I talk to my other two siblings just fine, but they're not financial gurus.
I hear you.
You know, and people that don't know anything about finances, it seems like they want to sit and talk about it. Like, that's really weird. Yeah, you know,
Right.
That's somebody that knows what they're doing. They don't want to hear anything.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
frustrating. This is like a 20-year thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Business, ongoing for years.
Yep.
And it's pushed them away, actually.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to get them to understand what it's like to live with passive incomes and live a life that you want to live. You know, not tied down to this.
Right.
But they just shut down whenever I try anything important. It's weird. It doesn't even have to be finance.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes you need to
It's really
consider.
frustrating. That's why I live 1,000 miles away.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
Like, as far as, that's a lot of work to put all that together and
Yeah.
fill out all that stuff and design. Like, what are your recommendations for how often it's reviewed or updated?
Yes.
Yearly or twice a year? Or years?
Great point. Yeah, great point. Typically, it takes families about 10 hours to complete something like that. So it's no. It's very actually surprising. So a simple person would take about 10 hours. For Carol and I, it took about 30 hours. Okay, we just have a little bit more complex things, right? We have clients that go through this process and they get it done within a month's time. Some get it done a little longer. I mean, I'm going to get to your question in a second. Some get it done longer, so they meet every 2 weeks. But I would say, if you have a young family, things change quite often. So revisit your plan every single year. Think through that. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, we would basically, when you're in the mindset of creating something like that, and then you're done, you celebrate, high five, and all that kind of stuff, then we find that the mind still engages in those topics. So we say, we're going to have just a 3-month meeting follow-up to say, let's capture any other additional things and send you on your way.
Are you local?
Yes, we have an office in Sandpoint. Yeah. I think that's it.
Let's get it out of the
So-
hands. That was amazing. Our group is here to help you build wealth through real estate. And what you're going to do with that wealth, how you're going to, who you want to give it to. And I think it just relates really well to out tonight. Cool. Hang out for a little bit. We'll be here. Laughing Dog closes soon, so make sure you pay your tab. And we're here the second Thursday of every month. We want to keep this family group going. We hope you'll tell somebody you got it. We hope you'll come back every time you can.
Huh?
We'll bring a friend and come back and drink beer, talk real estate with us. So, second Thursday of the month, every month.